One of the things that we have to sort of think about is the flows. So we've got, if you like, the flows of information, of course, the flows of material, but also the flow of basically money, and we know that if one part of a supply chain runs out of money, because competition, you can argue, is no longer between individual companies, it's between the supply chains they are part of. So one of the big things that we have to consider is that, in the old world of, we're just going to procure for cost, as it were, we can no longer do that. We have to start thinking about procuring for resilience rather than for cost. Now, if we're thinking about that financial flow, we have to keep all suppliers, if you like, healthy. If you say that the financial flows are, if you like, the blood going through the system, if you end up with a supplier with no money, that supplier will basically go bankrupt. If that supplier goes bankrupt, it can then disrupt the whole supply chain. So some companies, what companies have been doing is in a way, you've had probably two approaches to this. You've had some organizations who have just frankly turned around and done their usual thing of let's just beat up suppliers. Okay. So that's all well and good. They've probably said, we're going to extend your payment terms by, X days. Basically we're going to really screw you down on these things and probably treat you quite badly. Other more enlightened suppliers have actually said, well, what we're going to do is we're going to really start thinking a little bit more strategically about this. And so, for example, with some suppliers, some large organizations I've been working with, what they've been doing is turning around to particular suppliers and saying, we're going to pay you faster. We're actually going to pay you faster. But then they've had a conversation with some of their larger, more robust suppliers and said, would you mind extending your terms? Why? Because what they're trying to do is to keep the whole supply chain alive, as it were. So by, at the end of the day, if they're looking at the balance sheet, profit and loss, their payment days and everything overall are probably saying a similar sort of level. But some of those more vulnerable suppliers are actually getting the cash a little bit earlier. Now, this is all a little bit complicated because at the moment, we have got massively extending lead times. So if you think about the terms, particularly on global shipping, when you pay for an item becomes quite important. Are you going to pay for it as soon as it, lands at your facility, or are you going to pay for it when it's loaded onto a ship in China, and so on and so forth? That will have a big impact on, if you like, the financial resource of your business. And you have to think through some of those challenges and really understand those challenges and make sure you don't fall into any traps. But part of the challenge has been, because we're in very much an environment where, there is capacity constraints everywhere. It gets to the point where, hey, you need the cash with that supplier pretty quickly to secure the goods, or you build a good relationship with the supplier so you're the preferred person that they're going to actually give the goods to. So that's been a big thing which has been playing out, and it's still playing out in many environments.
And I guess then you get the perfect storm when the Suez Canal is blocked and an already thin supply chain gets stretched even further.
Yeah, because, if you think about what's actually happened with, say, the Suez Canal, what then happens is that it starts to extend lead times further. Yeah. So your cash to cash cycle increases. And if you're on very, tight margins anyway, that starts to give challenges. So, we've been hearing about consumers, having challenges in patio furniture, for example. Everyone wants their patio furniture now. I know somebody whose patio furniture delivery, which was expected actually now, it was the middle of June. They've now told them it's going to be the middle of August. Okay. And part of that is because of these other things going on in the supply chain. It's not just about the Suez Canal. Life would have been a little bit better without that, but that has disrupted particular supply chains. But some companies, one of the key things that we have now is the technology to continually monitor what's going on. And Nestle, for example, and Maersk were doing a pilot at the time of the blockage on the Suez Canal, Nestle through that knew within 15 minutes which of their shipments was going to be disrupted, and they were able to plan for that. Okay, so having that information, that data, and being able to create some real knowledge and wisdom out of it becomes very important.
I guess it's that, as you say, it's that having that data that enables people to plan and make some good judgment calls based on what they see happening in real time.